Kylo Ren, the most powerful Star Wars character. Or is he? Today we're going to be putting him against top 12 of the most powerful Sith Lords, both canon and non-canon. Some characters include the infamous Exar Kun and Darth Krayt, who is no longer fortunately canon. I blame Disney for that because it is such a waste because he's such an awesome character. So anyways, let's begin with his first competitor. Number 12 is none other than the Lord of Hunger himself, Darth Nihilus. Darth Nihilus was originally, well, he wasn't a Sith or a Jedi. He was nothing more than a mere civilian who got caught in the explosion of the mass shadow generator that warped his entire existence. He eventually gained an endless hunger for Force energy, and eventually became a wound in the Force himself. Eventually, Darth Traya took him in as an apprentice and taught him how to use Force Drain to sustain himself, like a vampire. Unfortunately though, over the years, his body began to deteriorate because of so much energy he consumed. He would eventually abandon his body and fuse his spirit with the mask and the cloak he is so well adapted to. Darth Nihilus used his Force Drain ability to devour worlds. No, I'm not kidding. Eventually, his holocron would be come into the hands of Darth Krayt, who would be desperately seeking a cure to his sickness. Darth Nihilus himself was at his time the most terrifying Sith of his age. In terms of his battle against Kylo Ren, I would see the battle ending very quickly, as Kylo Ren would be the ultimate Force energy source for Nihilus to consume. Not wasting time, he would take care and end the young Kylo Ren with the easiest of ways. He is among the most powerful and most frightening Sith Lords of his age, next to Sion and Vitiate. He was also capable of even absorbing the Force out of people. At his time and age, he was at his peak until he was eventually defeated. The thing that makes Darth Nihilus such a terrifying character is the fact that he's neither dead nor is he alive. He is in between both life and death, truly showing that he is without a doubt he is basically a ghost in robes. And unless you too are wounded in the Force, you are no match for him. Even now, he is unable to regain his power, but still remains in the shadows of the abyss. At number 11, we have the original creator of the World 2 himself, Darth Bane. Darth Bane was originally a foot soldier in the Brotherhood of Shadows, and however, it was eventually discovered that he was a Force sensitive. They instantly took him in and began training him in their ways. However, their ways were not the ways of the Sith, and so Darth Bane set off to find the holocrons of the Sith, eventually finding Darth Revan's holocron, as he considered Darth Revan to be the most powerful Sith that have ever lived. We'll get to him later. Darth Bane would eventually discover this and set off to find more holocrons and to restore the Sith to their primes. where they would eventually overthrow the Jedi. Of course, the Brotherhood of Darkness would not agree with these terms, and so he wiped them out like roaches and begun the rule of two. He eventually found a girl and took her in as his apprentice. She herself would become his first apprentice in the first act of the Rule of Two. Darth Bane was among one of the most intelligent and most powerful Siths. His Force lightning could instantly kill people. He had telekinesis and all kinds of very powerful stuff. In terms of comparison, Kylo Ren would be no match for this Sith Lord, for this Dark Lord of the Sith. In Star Wars The Clone Wars, he would come to Yoda haunting him as a ghost, and would eventually, in his holocron, would eventually come into the hands of Darth Krayt. Darth Bane also had a high tolerance for pain, and would eventually, and has shown this guy could take a beating and not even flinch. His high tolerance for pain would make him very formidable against Kylo Ren. He even wore a suit that would cause extreme pain or death, and he wore it like it was a tuxedo. In truth, Bane was a juggernaut. At number 10, we have no other than Darth Tyrannus. Darth Tyrannus, or Count Dooku as he was originally known as, was originally a former Jedi turned Sith Lord, or Sith apprentice. Count Dooku himself was also originally the first student of Yoda, so he was an incredibly powerful Jedi / Sith. He himself, like many, questioned the rules of the Jedi, especially one including the death of his Padawan, Qui-Gon Jinn. Darth Sidious would see this and took him in as his new apprentice. And he was no slouch either, able to take on two Padawan, a Jedi Master and a Padawan. Those Padawan Jedi Master being Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, taking them down with ease without even breaking a sweat. He played a major role in the Clone Wars and was the head honcho next to Darth Sidious that was running the show. He himself was a powerful Sith, despite him being just a mere apprentice of Darth Sidious. His Force Lightning and Force Choke were among one of the most powerful. He even killed his own kin to prove his loyalty to Darth Sidious. That I could be wrong on that. In terms of comparison, a fight between Kylo Ren and Count Dooku / Darth Tyrannus would end up in major despair, as Count Dooku would see Kylo Ren as not a former Sith, as he would see him as a mere amateur in comparison to Count Dooku. Count Dooku's lightsaber was also very unique, curved sideways to allow better control, and would be able to easily deflect Kylo Ren's counterattacks. He himself would be able to easily outwit Kylo Ren in a fight. Knowing that he's a powerful Force sensitive, he would be helping, if anything, Darth Sidious take him in to the dark side. In fact, I believe that Darth Sidious would rather prefer have Kylo Ren as his apprentice than a greasy old man, if you ask me. Either way, Count Dooku is a formidable foe and is one that's not to be taken lightly in battle, no matter what the cost, because eventually it will cost you your life if you take him too lightly. At number 9, we have Darth Malgus. Darth Malgus was at the time the Darth Vader of his age. He was a warmonger and the most bloodthirsty of the Sith of his age. Originally taken in by his father into the Sith Academy when his father discovered that he was a Force sensitive. Over time, Darth Malgus learned the ways of the dark side of the Force and eventually killed his master, Lord Vindicate. This was a time before the Sith, the Rule of Two, was in place, where the apprentice kills the master after they pass down their knowledge. This in turn would base these at his time the Sith, when killing their own kin, proved just how barbaric and savage they were, and Darth Malgus was no exception to that. Killing his master due to his wounds, he knew that his master would no longer be of use, and eventually surpassed him. He would go raiding a Jedi temple and killing everyone there, including the master of the temple of Coruscant. Darth Malgus, in turn, was a very aggressive fighter in terms of combat. He was even capable of Force lightning. In terms of comparison, he would see his rage was his greatest trait. Darth Malgus would see Kylo Ren as an insult and would attempt to kill the boy as fast as he could. However, his respiratory system is his weakness, and if not careful, would be exposed to it and defeated. At number 8, we have the unkillable Darth Sion. Darth Sion, like Darth Nihilus, was taken in by Darth Traya to begin the rule of Sith once more. He was among one of the most difficult enemies to beat or kill. Due to his strong will and grudge in connection with the dark side of the Force, he was able to use it to keep himself alive for as long as he could, even becoming immune to pain. Due to his broken, disfigured body, Darth Sion was like a Sith like no other. Difficult, unkillable, undefeatable. He took on an entire Jedi Order by himself and came out on top, even breaking his alliance with Darth Nihilus, telling him that he never needed him in the first place, and that he could do things by himself. He was even immune to Darth Nihilus' Force Strain ability, which is saying a lot. This guy was without a doubt the most difficult enemy to ever face in the Star Wars universe. Very difficult to kill, highly immune to pain. It was due to his strong connection with the dark side that he was able to keep himself intact. In the battle against Kylo Ren himself would have a hard time dealing with Sion due to his high immunity to pain, and Darth Sion would be able to easily overwhelm the boy. At number 7, we have Darth Plagueis. Darth Plagueis was at his time the most intelligent, the most wisest of the Sith Lords, and was the master of Darth Sidious. This guy was without a doubt no slouch in terms of the Force, as he knew it better than anyone else, and it could even influence it to create life. His Force abilities were also incredibly formidable, able to use the Force, pull, to rip enemies apart. Unfortunately though, during an assassination, he was heavily wounded and had to wear a respiratory system around his face to keep himself safe. However, this would eventually become a weak spot for Darth Sidious to kill his master after drunking him out. Darth Plagueis was no slouch in terms of force lightsaber combat either. In turn, he would see, like the Sith that on this list, he would see him as an unworthy Sith and would attempt to kill the boy quickly, as he knows the Force better than anyone. So in turn, he would kill Kylo Ren with ease by ripping the boy apart. At number 6, we have the fallen Jedi apprentice, Exar Kun. Exar Kun was, again, a fallen Jedi apprentice who fell to the dark side and questioned the rules of the Jedi. He was also the first one to wield the double-edged lightsaber skills and such before Darth Maul came into the play. Or was it after? I believe it was before. Kylo Ren in turn would be no match for this guy, as he himself opposed Luke Skywalker in his new role of Jedi during their time. Exar Kun would waste no time and kill the boy with the easiest of ease, as he was a Dark Lord of the Sith. At number 5, we have someone who could be considered Kylo Ren's equal in terms of force abilities and such. Galen Marek, Starkiller, was an apprentice taken in by Darth Vader to help him overthrow the Emperor, and he was no slouch in terms of force ability. He was capable of the three of Tutaminis, Force Lightning, Telekinesis, and many other abilities. The Emperor even claimed him to be his successor, his equal, and that, my friends, is saying a lot about this guy. Not many people can get the respect of the Emperor, and plus, Galen Marek, or Starkiller, was able to overwhelm Darth Vader in their last encounter. Depending on your choice, in the game, you can either fight the Emperor or finish the job and kill Darth Vader. In turn, Galen Marek was powerful in the Force and was a very formidable lightsaber fighter. His fighting skills would surpass Kylo Ren, as Kylo Ren, despite his Force abilities, really lacks in the lightsaber department. And Galen Marek would detect that with ease and defeat Kylo Ren, claiming himself the victor. In truth, he would defeat Kylo Ren in the lightsaber combat. At number 4, we have the creator of the Rule of One, Darth Krayt. Darth Krayt was a Dark Lord of the Sith who was originally an Outlander turned Jedi apprentice turned Jedi Master, survived Order 66, and returned to his home world to rule with an iron fist with his Tusken Raider brethren. Eventually confronted and defeated by Obi-Wan, he headed to Korriban and began learning the ways of the Sith, learning to deal with fire. But before he was ready to go and confront the Empire, it was defeated. Humiliated, Darth Krayt headed to the unknown regions and was immensely tortured by fire creatures that planted spores that threatened to devour him from the inside out. Eventually bursting with the dark side of the Force, he killed the creatures that were torturing him, and head to Korriban to begin his new Sith Empire with him as the Emperor. Darth Krayt was no slouch in the Force, as he was one of the most powerful of his age, able to cloak his enemy, able to cloak people in Force lightning without killing them. His telepathy was the most powerful property, as it was able to touch the minds of thousands of Sith across the galaxy. The rule of one was for all the Sith to bend to one mind, his. However, as the years went on, his condition worsened until he had to put himself in stasis. And he would eventually discover that Jade Skywalker had the ways to heal people. He attempted to use the boy's abilities to heal himself, until he eventually found it out for himself that he found the cure. Sensing this, Warlock betrayed Darth Krayt and shocked him with Force lightning, foolishly keeping him alive, only for Darth Krayt to return and kill Warlock himself, regaining his throne once more. In terms of Force abilities, Darth Krayt was one of the most powerful Sith Lords of all time, next to Darth Vitiate and Darth Sidious. His Force abilities were unmatched. A Force lightning so powerful, like Darth Sidious's. For a telepathy so powerful. He was the Obi-Wan Kenobi in terms of combat, unpredictable, fast-moving, with high reflexes, and letting the Force flow through him. During his sickness, he went to go and he summoned forth the Sith Lords of old, though they denied him the Sith Emperor. In terms of combat, he would give Kylo Ren the chance to either die, or he would use his telepathy to twist Kylo Ren into serving his rule. One way, it was a win-win for both ends, but in the end, Darth Krayt would rise from the ashes. At number 3, we have the embodiment of Kylo Ren before Kylo Ren, Darth Revan. Darth Revan was a vigilante Jedi turned Sith Lord due to Darth Vitiate's ambition and mind powers, twisting the man's mind into making him believe that he was a Sith Lord in existence. His power was unmatched, unrivaled. The mastery of both the light and the dark side of the Force. He was without a doubt respected by many to be the most powerful Sith Lord in existence. His Force abilities were unrivaled, except for, of course, the Emperor, Darth Vitiate, who at the time was the most powerful. Either way, in terms of comparison, Kylo Ren would be no match for this Jedi Sith Lord. As despite his abilities, Kylo Ren again lacks in lightsaber combat, and lacks the ability to direct his Force powers, while Revan does. At number 2, we have Darth Vitiate. Darth Vitiate, at his time, was the original Sith Emperor, and was the most powerful Sith to have ever walked the Earth, or any worlds. He was like Darth Krayt, his telepathy powers were unmatched, even more powerful than his. However, Darth Vitiate's powers were more content of sorcery than anything, as he prefers that, as he was born during the time where sorcery was at its peak. Whereas others prefer for the more modern days, with lightsabers and force abilities, Darth Vitiate, his telepathy powers were at the most powerful. He could twist the minds, making people, corrupting them, basically, like how he did with Darth Revan and Darth Malak, turned them into Sith Lords. Though Revan did eventually break his hold, Malak did not. Vitiate also had the ability to transfer his consciousness into other beings, basically essence transfer, and he was a mastery of it. And as one body wore out, he would find another, and another, and another. Although eventually Darth Vitiate did die. Such. And at the time, again, he was the most powerful Sith to have ever lived. But however, he gained his powers from sorcery and forcing others into serving him. At the time, he was enemy number one. And still, although his presence is gone, his success and legacy still lives on. In terms of force abilities, he was the most powerful Sith to use force abilities. His force push was powerful enough to slam his enemies into the ground or into the wall. Force lightning unrivaled, and it was more than capable of holding its ground against the strongest of enemies. In terms of his battle with Kylo Ren, Vitiate never was good with the lightsaber, so he would be at a slight disadvantage with this. However, his force abilities would be unmatched. He would instantly detect and notice that Kylo Ren is very powerful with the Force, and would attempt to use essence transfer to transfer his consciousness into Kylo Ren, making himself even more powerful than he is now. Because when you do essence transfer, you transfer not only your essence, but your power into the body as well, making it more formidable than before. He was basically, in terms of lightsaber, he was no slouch and not afraid to draw a lightsaber if he must. He was capable of creating illusions so powerful that it could trick and actually hurt people. And his force lightning was also black, but the colors never mattered, but still. And he is known by many names, but many people know him as Vitiate. He was no slouch in terms of the Force, and despite the fact he used sorcery, he is still recognized as being one of the most powerful Sith. He is the Sith Emperor before he is Darth Sidious, before Darth Sidious. So yeah, Kylo Ren would be no match for this guy. Before we get to number 1, here is one honorable mention. Darth Maul. Darth Maul was the Sith apprentice before Count Dooku, and was the Sith assassin for Darth Sidious. Set out to take care of the Jedi who are interfering with his plans. He sent Darth Maul to deal with them. However, eventually cost the life of Qui-Gon Jinn, who was killed by the assassin. His lightsaber skills were unmatched, almost until Darth Maul was cut in half by Obi-Wan Kenobi. However, Darth Maul survived and continued his quest for revenge against the Jedi, who would eventually who would have his appendages replaced with cybernetics, and would become even more of a threat than before. in the Clone Wars, he would take control of Death Watch and kill the love of Obi-Wan's life to mock him and bring despair. However, he was quickly dealt with by his master, Darth Sidious. Darth Maul was without a doubt one of the greatest duelists, and was a mastery at the two-edged lightsaber. However, his sheer arrogance eventually would lead to his downfall. So in truth, Kylo Ren, it's already been confirmed that Kylo Ren would be no match for this guy due to his immense lightsaber skills. So yeah. And now, on to number 1. Number 1. Villain who could defeat Kylo Ren is Darth Sidious. Come on guys, you guys saw this coming. I know you guys did. Now granted, Snoke is more powerful than Darth Sidious but lacks the intellect and the ability to direct his Force lightning. Getting shot by Darth Sidious' Force lightning is like the most dreadful thing in existence. Also, plus Darth Sidious himself is the most powerful Sith ever. His Force lightning could vaporize an entire body full power. His Menace on Ride was also very powerful. His Force choke was the strongest in existence. Even Darth Vader recognized his power and feared it. His telekinesis, his telepathy, and such was even more powerful. However, in terms of lightsaber combat, Darth Sidious rather only draws a lightsaber to mock the Jedi during his fight with the 3 Jedi Masters and Master Yoda. In the fight, he proved that he was more than capable of holding his own against the Grand Master. He was capable of even creating an even greater form of Force, the Force Storm, a deadly technique which he used to demolish and vaporize and attempt to destroy the rebellions one last assault. However, it was directed, and plus this ability requires extreme concentration. In terms of lightsaber combat, he was no slouch and was not afraid to draw his lightsaber if he had to. He was a mastery at all forms of lightsaber combat, and would instantly see Kylo Ren as a complete slouch, and would mock him for either join me or die. Darth Sidious does not give, he takes. He does not turn, he twists. His Force lightning would kill Kylo Ren with ease, as he was not afraid, and he was addicted to the dark side of the Force. He was the dark side. Well guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And may the dark side of the Force be with you. Now fulfill your destiny.